You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Working Like Dogs is brought to you by Dog.com. For everything and anything dog, shop Dog.com today for all the top brands. Greenies, Frontline, Kong, Nylabone, Royal Canin, and more. Shop at Dog.com and use the promo code SADWORK, SADWORK, and get $15 off your order of $75 or more.
Hello and welcome to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Thank you for joining us today. We're your hosts. My name is Marcie Davis, and my co-host is my trusty service dog, Whistle. And Whistle and I are thrilled to be with you today to talk about our favorite subject, working dogs and working animals. And today our guest is Karen Fortier, and Karen is the author of Sled Dogs of Denali National Park, and she served as the official kennel manager at Denali National Park and as a park ranger for 10 years. And she's going to talk with us about her experiences and share with us what she's doing now. But we really want to talk with her about the sled dogs and learn more about the park. So come right back after these quick messages from our sponsors as we welcome Karen to the show.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
At Petco, we really love pets. There isn't anything we won't do to make sure they're getting the best products and the best care. So when you ask us a question like,
so how do you feel about cat condos?
We can say from experience,
Feels like home for her.
Enter the code WORK10, WORK, the number 10, and get 10% off any order. No minimum at Petco.com.
FTD's network of over 40,000 florists around the world have been creating beautiful handcrafted arrangements for 100 years. Each arrangement is delivered the same day and backed by FTD's 7-day satisfaction guarantee. For a century, people have trusted their most important occasions to the flower experts at FTD.
Since Pet Life Radio is all about puppy dogs and flowers, our listeners, that's you, can get a 20% discount on your order. Just go to fluorop.com and use the code WORK1234 at checkout, FLEUROP.com, code word WORK1234.
How would you like your business to reach out and invite in our audience? We have a brand new trademark concept called Info Seeds. Info Seeds are short 20-second seeds of information about your place of business, practice, or service. We only have a limited number of slots left. For more information, visit PetLifeRadio.com. Click on sponsorship information. There you can listen to a sample of Info Seed or email us at PetLifeRadio.com. Remember, only a limited number of opportunities are available.
Got questions about your hound's health? Need the facts on Fido's fitness or food? You want to unleash your pup's potential? Well, you've come to the right place with Win with Dogs. Here, we learn how easy it is to naturally improve the lives of our furry friends. So sit, stay, and get ready to win with dogs. With me, Raquel Wynn. Exercise, nutrition, interaction, and love make for one healthy, happy hound. Give yourself the gift of knowledge on demand every week right here at Pet Life Radio with me, Raquel Wynn, and Win with Dogs.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Today our guest is Karen Fortier. Hello, Karen, and welcome to Working Like Dogs.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so excited that you could be with us today because, Denali National Park, wow. Just saying it is it just has so much in its name, and I just can't wait for you to tell us more about it. Tell us about the history of the park.
Well, the park really has it's a very old park, especially in Alaskan standards. The park was established in 1917, and it was established really to protect a lot of the wild game species, especially the Dall sheep that were living in that area. And there was concern that a lot of the poaching that was happening in the area was wiping out the wildlife populations there. So the park was established, and kind of where I fit into all this is that the original way to patrol the park was by sled dog team. And the very first superintendent brought sled dogs into the park and established the kennel in 1921, and those first rangers patrolled throughout the park and still do that today.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I mean, sled dogs are a different type of working dog that a lot of people don't think about. How did you start working with the dogs?
Well, when I first moved to Alaska, after I finished college, I began getting interested in sled dogs. It was kind of the way of life in Alaska. And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, we started kind of apprenticing with some friends that we met who had sled dogs. Soon, it only took a few years before we were completely hooked, and became our way of life to kind of camp and travel by dog team in the winter. So we acquired our own team, and we did that for about 10 years. We were working in the park for a 6-month season, and in the summer, and then in the winters we would travel with our dog team. And then when the kennel manager position opened up, I was one of the lucky ones to be chosen.
Yeah, it sounds like a dream job. Definitely.
It really is. It's probably the most unique position within the National Park Service for sure, and I feel incredibly fortunate to have had that position for 10 years.
Yeah, and so tell us more about that job. What did you have to do every day?
Well, it's a very big contrast from what you do in the summer and the winter. And in the summer, it really focuses on showing the dogs to all the visitors to the park. And it's the number one interpretive program at Denali. So we had, anywhere from, say, 100 to 600 or 700 people on a given day visiting the kennels. And we would give 3 daily sled dog demonstrations where visitors come and learn about the history of our dogs and how we use them today. And then we would also hook 5 or 6 dogs up to a wheeled sled and run them around the track so that people could see how they work and how excited they get to work, and how they want nothing more than to put a harness on and to run. And then, as well as all of that interpretive stuff in the summer, it's, caring for the dogs, raising puppies. We would breed 1 dog each spring and have puppies. And then, all the training and care that takes for all the equipment and tack as well. And then in the winter, it shifts in the fall, really. It shifts to fall training and getting the dogs back into shape and starting breaking trail and putting in trail to different places in the backcountry of the park. We would mostly focus on the 2 million acres of wilderness designated area in Denali. And of course, you're not patrolling all of that land, but we have a series of backcountry cabins that we would travel to, and we would stock supplies in the fall. And so the purpose of those trips were to haul in supplies, haul in firewood, be the transportation for researchers into Denali, because since it is a wilderness, we would try to minimize, the use of helicopters, and there is no use of snow machines. So really the dogs are the only on-the-ground transportation method. And we do other things like watching out for any illegal activities, although, there are other means today that probably are faster than dog team, but certainly we're kind of the eyes and ears of the park during the winter months.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a great job description for you and the dogs. Yeah, I was wondering about that, about the specific tasks that the dogs perform. And so it does seem like the transportation is such a large piece of that. And transportation is really the heart of a society, right? Of how we get around and function.
Yeah, it was said that really, the whole settlement of Alaska, because of dogs, is, it's been attributed to them, where people have settled, and the whole mode of transportation, in the entire state of Alaska and in other northern places for sure, has been, tied to the whole history of the dog.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about the dogs. So you said that they have a litter usually every year?
Yeah, these are what we call Alaskan Huskies. So some folks aren't always familiar with that particular breed because it's not, a registered AKC breed at all. It's really a, amalgamation of many different types of dogs that has come together, and produced this incredible working dog. So, over the years, maybe there were some Siberian Huskies and Malamutes and all kinds of things, and then boy, in the gold rush days, any kind of dog that would pull a sled was kind of bred into the mix. And so over time, it has, we've produced this dog that we now call the Alaskan Husky.
Ah, that's interesting. And so are those the dogs that have the blue eyes?
They can have blue eyes, but they can have brown eyes, and you sometimes end up with one of each. But it's not a breed standard at all. There's no breed standard for the Alaskan Husky. And in fact, there is a huge variation in their appearance, in their size and their appearance. And Denali sled dogs were what we call freight style of sled dogs, the freight style of Alaskan Husky. So they were much larger than, say, the racing Alaskan Husky that, folks use in the Iditarod and other races.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering about that, about how they compare to the dogs that participate in the Iditarod.
Right. They can be twice as large. Sometimes the Iditarod dogs run 40 to 50 pounds, and our dogs, can sometimes be up to 85 pounds. So they're pretty large animals. They're longer legged than a lot of the racing dogs, and they tend to be a lot thicker fur than some of the racing dogs today as well. So they're built more for not speed so much as getting through rougher conditions, breaking trail through deeper snow, and also, hauling heavier loads.
Mm-hmm. And tell us, what do you mean by breaking trail?
That means, like, racing dogs are often running on an established trail, like, say, a snow machine or some kind of groomer has run over it. In fact, even all the races, there'll be trail breakers out ahead of those dogs. So mostly you're trying to run from point A to point B as fast as you can. In Denali, since, we're not using snow machines or anything else, the dogs are setting their own trail. So you're just guiding them by voice commands to where you want them to go. So, and at times that can mean you're out in front on snowshoes, breaking the trail for them, setting a trail, packing down a trail for them. Other times, if it's not too deep for them, they can actually, make their way through the snow and, put a trail in.
Ooh, that must be exhilarating. I mean, just the thought of being out in the snow and the crisp air with those amazing animals. Wow.
Yeah, it was always just incredible to make it, to your destination on a particular day because you never knew what you were really going to find out there.
Yeah, and there aren't many experiences like that left, I can imagine, being out in the true wilderness and really working with your dog for survival, really.
It's very true. I mean, and it definitely is a codependent relationship there because they are definitely depending on you to take care of them and make sure their feet are staying in good condition and putting booties on when necessary and feeding them and making sure they're well hydrated and all that. And then you're completely depending on them to, not go chasing off after a herd of caribou or not,
That's right.
not going too close to a hole in the river ice or, things like that. So it's definitely a lot of trust that needs to develop between you and your dogs.
Yeah. And so how many dogs are usually at the kennel?
30 dogs is typically what we always had there, and that's enough for 3 teams worth. We would generally run anywhere from 8 to 10 dogs per team. So, with pups and stuff, sometimes they're running loose alongside the team to get, some experience with the different conditions and also to, just build up their endurance and stamina.
Mm-hmm. And do all the puppies that are born there, do they all become the working dogs, or how do you discern if it's a good fit for the puppies, or do they just automatically, instinctually, that's their role in life?
Yeah, they would. We could keep them all, but it depends on the litter size, and we try to always maintain right around 30 dogs, so it depends on kind of how many dogs are retiring in a given year, because we usually retire them when they're about 9 years old or so. We put them up for adoption, and usually local folks in the community adopt them. They're so friendly, and these are probably the most friendly sled dogs that you ever met because they're around hundreds and hundreds of people and getting pet all day long. So everybody wants to adopt these guys when they do retire. But we usually keep 3, 4, sometimes as many as 5 in a given year. And it depends on kind of what the male-female ratio is too. Sometimes we might want some bigger dogs. Sometimes we want more females so that we can potentially have some to breed in the future. So it kind of, it's a bunch of different factors that play into how many we keep.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I bet the dogs are so socialized, because if you're doing 3 presentations a day to that many people that are visiting the park, then that's an awesome opportunity for them to be very comfortable, which does, I'm sure, make them desirable, that people do want to adopt them. How does somebody go about filling out adoption papers and trying to get one of these dogs?
Oftentimes, they would contact us, by phone or email, or if they were at the kennels themselves and saw a particular dog, then they can fill out an adoption form, and then we do background checks, and it's kind of amazing how it's really quite competitive to get one of these dogs, actually.
Yeah. As it should be, yeah.
Right. And we would prefer that they stay in Alaska just because they're so well suited for that climate. We certainly would never place them with a family that lived in a warmer climate. But we have, they have gone to other, northern climates like Montana or New England, Maine, a few places like that. So
yeah, I think I was reading about one that went to Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, do you have a waiting list then for that people sign up for?
We do. And sometimes, what sometimes happens is the park staff will become attached to them. Folks that work there that help us walk them in the summer. We have a dog walking program in the summertime so that they can get out in the evenings and get a little exercise when it is not so warm for them in the summer. So they will often become attached to them and want to adopt them when they retire. And so often they'll be the ones to be first chosen.
To be in line first, yes. Right. Yep, I can surely understand that. Yes, they've already bonded with them, I'm sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a much easier transition for the dog as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, we are going to take just a quick break and hear some important messages from our sponsors. And we're going to come back and keep visiting with Karen Fortier. So please come right back.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Love your pets but wish their medications were a lot less expensive? They are at 1-800-PET-MEDS. You'll not only save on flea and heartworm medications, but on prescriptions for arthritis, incontinence, thyroid, and more. And you get fast service, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Plus, our licensed pharmacists ensure accuracy, monitor drug interaction, and more. See why over 5 million people have trusted their pet's health to 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy. Call now or order online.
Go to petmeds.com/work, WORK, to get 10% off any order and free shipping on orders of $39 or more at petmeds.com.
There's a movement afoot, ShoeBuy.com. Join the millions of people who shop ShoeBuy.com's over 400 brands and 500,000 products. Order now and get free shipping and free return shipping. ShoeBuy.com, the world's greatest shoe store.
Walk your dog in style and comfort. Enter the code WORKING, WORKING, at checkout and get a 10% discount plus free shipping at ShoeBuy.com.
How would you like your business to reach out and invite in our audience? We have a brand new trademark concept called InfoSeeds. InfoSeeds are short 20-second seeds of information about your place of business, practice, or service. Is the best, most cost-effective way to invite us in. We only have a limited number of slots left. For more information, visit the website
PetLifeRadio.com.
Click on sponsorship information. There you can listen to a sample of InfoSeed. Remember, only a limited number of opportunities are available.
Hello! I'm Deborah Wolf, and I'm inviting you to my animal party on Pet Life Radio.
My pet experts will be coming to the party to answer your pet questions. And they'll also be sharing their favorite stories and messages with us, but I'll be asking them some tough questions. We'll get their opinions on the hot button topics like the pit bull ban, pet food, vaccines, religion, politics, and animals, cat tick clawing, and the latest news. Whatever's turning the animal world on its head, we'll be talking about at the animal party. This party's got bite.
Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. And we're visiting today with Karen Fortier, the author of Sled Dogs of Denali National Park. And she's giving us the inside scoop of life at the park and working with these amazing working dogs. And we've been talking about their life at the park. And so tell us, Karen, so I'm guessing that they're housed in pens?
Yeah, the kennel area at Denali is a historic kennel structure. Some dogs are in pens, primarily because we would put females in heat in pens to avoid any accidental breedings. And some dogs that may be slightly shyer prefer the pens rather than kind of being out in the open, where visitors can touch and pet them and stuff. So there's probably 10 dogs or so that are in pens, and then 20 dogs are out on houses, and we do put ropes up around them in the summertime, just so that they can choose whether they want to be on their house or come over to get pets from folks. But they all have a historic log doghouse, and it's very fitting with Alaska. They have a log doghouse with a flat roof because dogs typically like to get up on their roofs to have a flat, dry, warm place to lay around on. So they have kind of a plywood roof to their house. So they get up there, and then they have sort of their own little area to be in.
Oh, that's so cute. and how often are they fed? Are they fed twice a day or once a day?
Once a day in the summer. They have a big water bowl that's available to them also, throughout the day, and then in the evening around 4:00 in the afternoon they get fed in the summer. And then in the winter, we feed them twice a day. Their food is definitely increased during the wintertime because of all the extra calorie consumption. So they're fed in the morning mostly with a brothy meal so that their food is mixed with quite a bit of water so that they stay well hydrated. They don't have any free access to water really in the winter because their water bowls would freeze solid. So we make sure we bait their food with a lot of water. And then they also, in addition to their 2 meals a day, they get fat snacks. So kind of as a extra calorie snack, they get, poultry fat or beef fat globs that is kind of frozen in these buckets, and we just give them a ball of that as a snack.
Oh, yummy. I'm sure to them it's very yummy. Yeah.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah. Do you give them other supplements?
We do. There's different supplements that you can provide. There's a lot of mushers who race will, feed different meat and fish supplements because we can't store those at the backcountry cabins because we stock those in the fall, and that stuff would rot by the time we got out there.
Right.
It wouldn't be frozen in the fall part of the year. We strictly feed a very high grade food it's probably about 3 times as high in protein and fats than sort of your typical grocery store brands of dog foods.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they need all they can get to be in that environment.
They're probably getting about 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day.
Wow. Well, and so how many staff did you have working with you? Were they paid staff? Were they volunteers?
It's definitely a mix, but Denali really depends a lot on volunteer staff. We've never, had enough staff to really support the entire kennels operation. So, all of the dog walkers in the summer, we had anywhere from 30 to 60 dog walkers. There'd be 1 to 2 people per dog. They were all volunteers. In the summer, it would be myself and usually 2 paid staff and then 2 student conservation interns. So the SCA is a big supporter of the organization at most national parks, but we've always had paid interns at the kennels in the summer. And then in the winter months, it was myself and then 2 volunteers who helped to run all the patrols. They were provided, free housing and food on the trail and everything, but they would volunteer basically for an 8-month season just because to get the experience and to live that kind of amazing life for a winter.
Yeah. And how do people get those volunteer opportunities? How can you apply for that?
Well, anybody could apply. We would usually announce the position in the spring or early summer, and oftentimes it would be park staff, like seasonal park rangers that wanted to stay on in the winter. Maybe they were helping out with the summer sled dog demonstrations, and maybe they wanted to stay to see what it was like to run the dogs in the wintertime. Sometimes they might be like backcountry staff or other seasonal folks that just wanted to get that experience.
Yeah, I was wondering about that and wondering about when the public gets to interact with the dogs, how much interaction do they really get? Can they help with any of walking the dogs, the visitors that come, or is it more they have to be more of the consistent trained volunteers?
Yeah, for the dog walking, we really try to have that only be folks that can sign up for the entire summer and establish that relationship. We take them through, sort of a little mini training regime when they sign up to be a dog walker, and it's anything from how to handle your dog if you were to run into a moose. They are on a leash when you're walking them, but still, there's wildlife all along the park road when you're taking them for walks, and you could see wolves, you could see caribou, moose, porcupines, which could be interesting. And so you really need to know how to handle your dog well. And so there's just kind of just different rules that people need to know, and you really need that trust and relationship that develops between you and your dog. So we like to not have it change hands, that often. But when visitors come, oftentimes, if they come at feeding time, they can help us feed the dogs. They can actually, go up and pet and scratch and kind of play around with the dogs when they're there. So it's really, they are the friendliest sled dogs anywhere, and that's kind of my unbiased opinion, but it's really quite true. I mean, I think that's one thing that strikes the visitor most when they see these dogs is, I had no idea they were going to be this friendly. I mean, they'll roll over on their backs and get their belly scratched all day long. And,
they're working really, the crowd. Yeah.
They do. They have it down.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Well, tell us about your book, Sled Dogs of Denali National Park. How did you decide to write that from a park ranger to an author?
Well, when I first was hired on, there was a publication that was written by the original kennel manager. Her name was Sandy Kogel, and she actually just passed away recently. She was an incredible woman, but she wrote the first. It was called The Sled Dogs of Denali, and it was. It had no color photos, and it was a very small, maybe 10-page kind of a write-up about the dogs, more of like a pamphlet-type book. And there was some interest by the Alaskan Natural History Association, who runs the bookstore at Denali, to kind of expand on that and have, much more photos. And they had hired, the previous winter from when I started, they had hired a professional photographer to go out on some patrols and take some photos. His name was Ken Ward, and so the idea had gotten started a little bit. So when I was hired, they approached me and asked if I'd be interested in writing the book. And so after about a year of working there, I started on writing it, and I had some great editors and my I think a fairly decent first attempt at a book.
Yeah, well, another great task in your job description. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for you.
Yeah, it was. It was really a great opportunity, and I kind of did it as part of my job. So, I'm obviously not collecting any royalties on it or anything like that. So it was, as, part of my duties. So, yeah, it was a really neat thing to be able to focus on that as well. So I definitely was busy those first few years.
Yeah, well, that's definitely another big piece of the history of the dogs in the park. I think you really contributed to that with the book, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad that they have that. There's a video as well that was made with a former kennel manager as well, so a lot of folks can, purchase that and kind of see, firsthand what that's like. And they did an incredible job with a new video that's shown at the visitor center at Denali, and it has quite a bit of dog footage as well. So it kind of gives folks a good idea of what actually happens in the winter months.
Yeah, and how can someone order the book?
They can go through the, actually it's not Alaskan Natural History Association, it's now the Alaska Geographic. So if you, I think it's alaskageographic.org.
Okay.
You can order the books through there, and I think they can actually even order them on Amazon.com or other booksellers.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have that information up on our website for our listeners because it is a beautiful book, and I'm looking forward to getting a copy of it myself. It looks wonderful. And so I have to ask you, Karen, if someone's planning a trip to the park, what's a good time of year to go, and how would you recommend that they do that?
Well, I guess it depends on what they're looking for. If they really want to go and get out into the park and maybe, do a little backpacking or get out and, take a bus trip and see the wildlife, then certainly I would say in June is one of the prettiest months, and also in August when the leaves are really turning. Probably by mid-August is when fall is in Denali. And instead of, deciduous trees that have, beautiful colored leaves like the East Coast and other parts of the U.S., Denali has the carpets of tundra that turn different colors, and so it's really magnificent. You get just all those different colors, reds, oranges, yellows, but it's a carpet on the floor of the tundra. So that's
wow.
I think one of my favorite times of the year there.
Wow.
If you come in June, you're there for the 24 hours of daylight pretty much, so that's a whole other experience too.
And how is it with lodging there? Is it usually really crowded those times or those peak times? And how would somebody get lodging?
Yeah, it can be. There's quite a bit of lodging right in the entrance area of the park. A lot of the folks who come are on package tours. They come, say by a cruise up to, through the inside passage, and then they might, take a bus trip up to Denali and stay a night and then come back. So there's not a ton of independent travelers. Another big way to get there is by railroad from Anchorage. That's how a lot of visitors arrive today. But it kind of depends on what you're looking for. There's a lot of local bed and breakfasts in the area as well. Healy and Denali Park have quite a few, sort of mom and pop businesses rather than sort of the larger, Princess and other larger tour companies. So it sort of depends on what, people's flavor is.
And what would you recommend for visitors with disabilities? Like for myself, if I came with Whistle, my service dog, would there be anything that I'd need to be aware of when visiting the park? I know you mentioned a lot of wildlife, but are there any other guides that you would have for people with disabilities with an assistance dog?
I believe that there is a publication for ADA, and there's definitely, Denali has done a really good job with all their new visitor center facilities and the kind of the campus area, what they call it, with some of the different facilities are all ADA accessible. So I know that the park does have a publication, and I think if you go on the park's website, they also have a section on there for visitors, visiting with disabilities. So there definitely are good accommodations, and the buses that do go out in the park, there are wheelchair accessible buses that travel out there. So it's definitely not a place that some folks with disabilities could get out in the backcountry very easily, but there are definitely facilities in the front country areas that make it, comfortable for folks.
Yeah, so you definitely get to have the experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. We went to Yellowstone last year and were able to spend a week, and it was just such a wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that my husband and I have on our bucket list is to get to as many of the national parks as we can. So we definitely, Denali is up at the top of that list of getting to, because it just looks like such a tremendous, unique place that has so much to offer. Yeah.
It's just such a huge expanse of, intact wilderness. It's just, there's not many places like that left in the world.
Yeah, I know. And then to see the working dogs there, I mean, that's just such an added bonus.
And there are some visitors that come there specifically for that, because they, what I would always ask, if I gave a sled dog demonstration is how many of you knew about the dogs before you came to Denali? And I would say the majority didn't, but there were always 10 or 15 folks that would raise their hands and would, tell me later that the reason they came to Denali was they wanted to meet our sled dogs.
Yeah, well, hopefully my husband and I will be raising our hands at the next presentation.
That would be great.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like a wonderful place that everybody should try and get to.
Yep, it sure is.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been such a pleasure visiting with you and learning about the dogs and the park. And we hope that our listeners will get online and get a copy of the book. And again, that website is alaskageographic.org. And thank you, our listeners, so much for being with us today. And if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear those from you. And so, Karen, if our listeners have any questions for you, is there some place they can reach you by email or telephone?
Yeah. Sure. By email, I can give you that as my first and last name, and then the number 68@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Great. And we will put that on our website for our listeners, so in case anybody wants to get in touch with Karen directly. And Karen, thank you so much for being with us and for sharing all your experiences and your beautiful book with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And please come back and join us again here at Pet Life Radio. And we really appreciate you being with us. And if you have any questions or comments for me and Whistle, you can reach us at Marcie, MARCIE, at PetLifeRadio.com. So thanks so much, and we look forward to joining you again soon. Take good care.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.